And we're back with some more base loading on oxygen not included. And this map is a doozy. It does, I don't know, it does all the things that I've never done before. And it approaches problems in a completely unique way in a lot of circumstances. But first up, let's just have a look here at this core base. The thing that's not immediately obvious is this here is actually the core base. These 3 floors, because that's the only place in the base the duplicants are not in exosuits. They come out of their bedrooms, they can shower in here, but the moment they try and leave this area, they can't get it through here. They can't get it down this side. This is also blocked off. The only way out is past the exosuit docks, which means the entire bottom half of this central base, it's carbon dioxide. Look at that. That's because all the duplicants are coming down here, getting into their suits, and they will eat their food, use the bathrooms, wash their hands, dance. They'll do everything inside their exosuits. Just a handy way of not having to worry about anything. This is the only place that needs to be pressurized in oxygen and temperature controlled. Everything outside of that, you don't have to worry. Not only that, this is set up for absolute maximized morale. If we check the scheduling here, you'll see there's 5 downtime slots assigned to all the duplicants, meaning they have lots of spare time. It gives them the maximum morale bonus of +4, but there's all of these extra things they can do inside the base to give them even more morale. So 2 espresso machines, a jukebox, and an arcade cabinet. Is there a water cooler? I don't even think there's a water cooler, but you know that would cost water. All the rest of these are pretty much free, well, except for maybe the coffee. But if we check on, let's have a look at their morale here. Actually, consumables would be the easiest way. You have 61 morale on some of these, 48, 42. You know, let's check out the 61. What is it getting? Superb meal, +9 decor, +6 great hall, +6 nature reserve, +5 interested skills, +4 for drank espresso. Showered +3, played video games +2, and recently danced +2, and a bunch of others. There's a lot. But effectively, yeah, all the potential for maximum morale gain going on here. A couple of simple bathrooms on each side. It's up to 8 duplicants per shift, so there's 8 bathrooms, 8 sinks, the usual. But yeah, very nice way of doing that. Now, this is the industrial break over here, just right next door. Well, industrial and power. Ignore those hydrogen generators. They're overflow generators in case the hydrogen backs up from the main hydrogen disposal area. So you get your natural gas generators, your petroleum generators, all flooding down through here. And there's the cooling for this is provided by toilet and shower water. The shower water comes across here and it runs through this area before it's eventually saved, but it soaks up a bunch of the heat doing it first. There's also a little bit of ethanol going on here, and this is sort of reserve backup power ethanol. So when the power gets too low, this base mainly runs on natural gas, but there's some petroleum here that backs it up. Well, they're not petroleum, they're ethanol power generators to back it up as well. And then you've got your industrial brick down here, your grinders, your kilns, everything, all that, and a cool down by a couple of steam turbines to destroy all the heat. Also like that they used a 4-tile high system and just dumped all the heat in there. So they've got that one steam room, sort of like they have a hot industrial sauna, but only in one section, where they stuck in the glass forge. Really like that idea. I might be stealing some of these ideas. Oh, and food-wise, that is a ridiculous amount and type of foods going on. We have mushrooms and sleet wheat, and we even have these nosh sprouts that no one uses because they're so inefficient. There's yeah, they're all here. There's 3.5 million calories of spicy tofu. Respect. Next up, we've got this, which is, yes, do you like having lots and lots of polluted oxygen around the place? You can't really see it too well there, but let's get a liquid overlay. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of polluted water in there. There's also 2 infectious polluted oxygen vents. And enough germs that, yeah, that's pretty toxic. It's a good thing the dupes don't leave the base unless they have atmosuits on. But all the oxygen from this is pumped up here. My thought was, oh, this is just going to go to liquid oxygen production. Nope, not liquid oxygen production. Goes in here and gets fed to puffs. So you've got regular puffs, puff princes, even squeaky puffs, and they're all in here. And they consume all the polluted oxygen. Where is it? There's oxide coming out of these. You notice that oxide is picked up and sent onto these conveyor rails. The reason for that is those conveyor rails go all the way back down to, well, one second, they go down here. 1 second while I find the correct one to follow. Here. They drop all this distance, and they stop about here, where they're sorted. The eggshells, all that is separated out. But the oxide itself, it's sent across here, and gets dumped into the base. The oxygen for this main core base area is provided by oxalate. How crazy is that? So they're using polluted oxygen to create oxalate, and the oxalate gets dumped off in here. There's also a little bit of other oxygen floating around the place, of course, because you're going to need it for the atmosuits and all that. But still an impressive way of using polluted oxygen and turning it into clean oxalate for use. I was quite impressed by that one. Now, oh yeah, this is the battery box. You know, I should show you a little bit of a zoom out here. This place is like grid town. There's this whole square grid down the middle, and everything is square gridded. But here we have the battery box, and the battery box itself is, well, there's a bunch of natural gas generators down here. We'll cover where the natural gas gas is coming from later. Oh, and there's where the hydrogen generators there. They burn off all the hydrogen coming from the oxygen production. But this is all cooled down by a couple of slush geysers. There is a slush geyser over... Second, the game's hang a bit. There's a slush geyser over here, I believe, and another one... Oh, is it further up? There's another one further up over here. And both of those feed in a cooling loop through this area and keep all the battery box cool and all the power generation there cool before going up to the base and doing some cooling up there. That is a enormous battery box, though. All cooled by slush geysers, so it works. Now, I'm beginning to think everyone has been using volcano tamers without any aqua tuners for a long time, because this is the second map I've come across where they're not using any aqua tuners, and they're doing it long before I ever got around to it. It seems I was late to the discovery. This place just has iron in it. It's down to 125, though there is 2 temperature shift plates back there. I might start adopting that. 2 diamond temperature shift plates behind the volcano and a layer of petroleum. I've heard a few suggestions in the comments in the petroleum boiler tutorial to do that, and it seems to work quite well here. This is down to 125C. No automation required, no nothing, just a couple of temperature shift plates and a little bit of petroleum. I want to do some more testing on that. And I got only one steam turbine. And not only that, there's another 2 volcanoes over here. We have a gold volcano and a copper volcano, all just cooled by 2 steam turbines up the top. Though, in all fairness, these 2 steam turbines, they're not doing self-cooling. They're relying on the natural environmental heat, and there's an anti-entry vanilla fire close by to help make sure that they don't overheat at all. And next up, we have this. It's a sour gas boiler, though it's probably one of the odder ones I've seen. Just, yeah, you see these this vacuum area up here with bottle emptiers? Oh, here comes a duplicate right now carrying a big red bottle of magma. Yes, they're dropping magma down here, which hits these metal plates, and the temperature shift plates made of diamond dump the heat into this area. Now, you're going to lose some of the heat because, well, there's a problem with dumping magma on top of liquid magma on top of igneous rock debris. When the magma solidifies, it adopts the temperature of the debris it's on. So this is a little bit heat inefficient, but all of that was pretty new information, or not known by many people at the time anyway. What is impressive, though, very, very impressive about this, is this little ghetto steam or sour gas production works quite well. And as well as that, down here, you'll check this ladder made of igneous rock before turning to obsidian down here. It leads into the magma biome, which has been demolished. We're into the, I believe this was played during the preview patch or whatever, so we're into the beta branch here, into the launch version. So this is all obsidian down here, meaning they mined all of this area out, and then they've been slowly but surely sucking out all the magma. Like, look at that, the whole magma biome has gone lopsided because it's being turned into sour gas over here. Brilliant. Anyway, let's just have a quick trace of this pipe. Yeah, sour gas looks weird in a pipe. Anyway, it goes up here, hangs a right, and we're going all the way up. All the way. Yep, that's going to be a while, and we're going all the way up to space. And here things get a little confusing, because they have decided to combine hydrogen production, oxygen production, and methane production into all one box. Right here is where most of the craziness goes on, because this does not do things like I would have done them at all, and it's beautiful. First up, here is your cooling solution over here. You've got your aqua tuner running some supercoolant. That supercoolant is run through this box. So, what's going on here? Well, you have 2 electrolyzers, and the supercoolant coming through here causes everything, all the gases, both the oxygen and the hydrogen, to just, solidify. All of that stuff is getting turned into solids. There's no liquid pumps going on in here. What's happening is they have conveyor loaders, and those conveyor loaders are spitting at the material. So you've got hydrogen coming out down this way, going into this room, and oxygen coming out this way and going down into this room. But they're solid, so how are we going to cool these down? I mean, especially the oxygen that's coming out of here is going to be far, far cooler than is normal. So how are you going to heat that up? Well, that took me a while to figure out. Yeah, I couldn't see any heat going in here, but there was this liquid valve shut off. What happens is, if the temperature in here gets too cold, there's a cold sensor. If it goes below 210, this valve turns on and water is dumped in. Yes, water is used to heat up the area. Just 32 degree water, it drops right in here. You'll notice there's a giant tile of ice down here. Was it 10 tons of ice? So, effectively what you're doing is you're using the thermal aqua tuner to freeze all of the liquid, all the output of an electrolyzer, solid. And then you use shipping rails to send it to where you want to go, where then it just zigzags back and forth. And if you need to heat it up a bit, you just dump in a little bit of water, and that provides enough temperature change to turn it back into its liquid state. That, never would have thought of that. Could have played this game for 100 years, never would have occurred to me to try doing it that way. Have no idea why there's a mining drill up here. I'm going to assume something can happen that causes the tile to form. Anyway, that's just one leg of what that aquatuner is running through. The other leg is over here where it's solidifying sour gas. Do you know that sour gas we covered earlier? Well, yeah, there's more sour gas coming from over here, which we'll cover in a bit. But yeah, that goes over here and the sour gas gets condensed. And of course, there's no worrying about pumping that stuff out. We just let that stuff solidify and then we dump that onto conveyor rails. And those conveyor rails send it down here and into a heating room where it gets heated up. As you can see, all the stuff is hanging on the wire. It hasn't cooled down too much yet, but in all fairness, there is how much gas is there in there? Natural gas, 5,738 kilos per tile. And you don't even have to worry about overpressurizing the area. You can just keep dumping in methane. It won't make a difference because it's not a gas, it's not a liquid, you just send it in on conveyor rails. All you got to worry about is the conveyor loaders, backing up. But that doesn't make a difference. Once they turn to gas, it frees up even more space. So yeah, that is one aquatuner doing all of that. Also, there's some pretty big pools of oxygen and hydrogen. Very nice. There's a little temperature stabilizer over here, but what's interesting with this is you'll notice there's no steam turbine strapped to the top of this to deal with the heat. No. Instead of dumping the heat into a steam turbine, it's boiling petroleum into sour gas. Yeah, the heat in here is turning petroleum into sour gas, and then that sour gas is sent over to get turned into natural gas. So instead of just burning it off or turning it into power, you're turning it into natural gas. That's kind of nice. At the same time, what it's also doing is there's this little setup down here. We've got a petroleum, and this petroleum is, I'll cover that in a second, but this petroleum is what actually goes around and feeds the petroleum rockets up there, and at the same time, it does this big cooling loop through everything. You see there's being heat capture going on here at the bottom of these petroleum rockets, where there's petroleum beneath them, and the hydrogen rockets as well, and the heat below is captured in these pools, and then petroleum rotates through it, and the heat's dragged about a place. But yeah, this big rotational loop of petroleum even passes through the natural gas making or the methane room to dump off a bunch of heat. It cools everything all the way along. Everything around here is getting cooled by petroleum. There's just a giant loop of it. But the petroleum is made on site. And by that I mean there's crude oil coming up from the bottom of the map. It zigzags its way through this petroleum tank down here. And then it comes up here and there's a liquid shutoff. This is where the petroleum can potentially feed on. What's going on is when this detects that it's running low on petroleum, because, it fired off a petroleum rocket and that cost some petroleum, this will engage the liquid sensor, and this thermal sensor will detect that it's getting too cold in here, and those doors will engage. This will cause this whole little system to start boiling petroleum as well. So it boils sour gas, and you can siphon off heat to make petroleum, and the petroleum will overflow across here, pour down, and end up in the tank, so that you can fuel up your rockets. So it produces sour gas, boils petroleum, and it solidifies oxygen, hydrogen, and methane all at the same time. That's what you call a combo platter. An absolutely insane combo platter. I love it. That is... goddamn, I'm stealing several of these ideas. I don't know how useful they'll be with my playstyle, but I really want to steal a lot of ideas from this map. Oh, this one here... can't figure out for sure, but I'm pretty sure this is for cooling down the petroleum. The petroleum, when it comes out of here, some of it is stored up the top and then sent down this way where it goes across to the jet suits. And I think the whole purpose of this aquatuner is to cool down that petroleum so that when it comes down here, it doesn't interfere with the temperature of this area. Just, so your jet suits and all this area doesn't get too hot. And, oh my god, is that a dense puff? A tame dense puff that escaped. Yeah, bound to happen. Oh, anyway, that's there's the space rocketry area as well up here. They're going with a zero door approach. And they've just got mining drills down the bottom. I like that. They're made of thermium, so they can take the heat. And that means you can just mount them up there. Any regolith that falls down here will immediately get destroyed by the mining drills. And the mining drills are cooled by the exhaust of the rockets because, this petroleum down here is keeping this whole place chill, so this thing never really goes above a couple hundred degrees, which means any exhaust coming out of here should be well below the 975 degree overheat temperature of the mining drills, which means they're self-cooling by, rocket cooled, I suppose. That sounds terrible. Rocket regulated. Yes, rocket regulated. We'll go with that. Okay, so Before we get into the power grid and the electric grid, there was one last area. Yep, like I said, this place is all grid-based. So there's the grid up there and the grid down there we've covered. This is the only piece I missed out on. This is oxygen production. Wow. So, a little bit confusing, but all that's going on is electrolyzers crammed in with 2 gas pumps. They pump out, and then there's just some gas shut-off shenaniganry going on with a little bit of automation. So you notice here, as these come out, all the oxygen gets sent off this way, all the hydrogen gets sent out that way. And then there's just lots of them, just to produce plenty and plenty of oxygen. Very compact little system. Though that piping would probably be a nightmare for me. I'd go mad. Oh, do you like Paku? There is a lot of Paku on this map. Yeah, Paku expansion tank. There's where they go. Eggs get dropped over there. All works out. Looks quite nice. It just provides a nice source of lime and meat. But over here, we have Drekos. Do you like Drekos? Do you like lots and lots and lots of Drekos? That is so much Drekos and so much compost. I have no idea how there's this much compost going on. I presume the priority is they're so low that they're just not getting flipped in time. That is just a ridiculous amount of composting going on. Though temperature-wise, oh yeah, not so bad, I suppose. Yeah, I was expecting the compost to have burned this place to a crisp. They produce a surprising amount of heat. Yeah, so we've got your standard issue BAM lily growing in chlorine, and then on top you've got the hydrogen to make sure that you can have lots of reed fiber. Lots and lots and lots of reed fiber. This is one way to make sure that you end up with enough industrial ingredients to make your insulation. You know what, let's have a quick look at something. So there's 5,000 reed fiber. That's a good collection. 40 tons of steel, 33 tons of insulation, lots of viscogel, of course, and refined metal-wise, looking at about 100 tons of everything, bar aluminum. Well, yeah, I suppose the aluminum's really, really useful, and you have volcanoes and everything else. Now, let's check out the power grids. Be prepared for a little bit of hate, just a little bit of hate. Let's see, where we go. Power overlay. Oop, 1 second while the game thinks about it. And there we go. Damn. That is just so crispy clean. That is not fair. That is not fair in the slightest. Oh, that's beautiful. 2 centralized power spines going up each side. Wires going off. I don't even think we need to zoom in on that one. It's kind of clear what's going on. Oh man. Yeah, let's check out the plumbing. Plumbing wise, oh, that's just not fair. Even over there, even though it's like a lot of pipes, it still looks so clean. Okay, one last one. Gas pipes. How are they looking on gas? Oh, sorry. Zoom problems. Oh, come on. However, I may have definitive proof that Mingyu is actually human, because if we go to minerals, we'll see that they actually left some fossil behind. So they're not perfect. They're not perfect. Cancel the alarms. Cancel the alarms. They do have one minor flaw. Dear Lord, that's cycle 1300, and this whole map has just been chopped up into grids. And that crazy combo platter up there is crazy. I can't even come up with the words. Words fail me. Anyway, this melted my brain going through this. Thanks very much for the map menu. But time to move on to the next one. This next map here is from Bob Terminator, and it's called the Swanky Cosmos. Now, we are going to zoom in here and have a quick look at the core base. Core base is something similar to what you normally expect, but there is a lot of stables, and it's very square. This is the rectangle of the core base. And there's the exosuit ducts for everyone who exits. You've got your bunk beds up here with a statue floor in the middle to make sure everyone gets lots and lots of decor exposure. I approve. Also, lots of decor exposure down here for the bathrooms as well. And I think that was a dining hall that got decommissioned, and instead there is now a great hall over here to replace it. Yeah, we've got lots of pips going on because, well, pips are free, so why not? And actually, no, they're pumping in the water for those. Oh, yeah, well, pips are still pretty cheap. They're a cheap source of eggs. And then over here we have a poke shell farm. Actual tamed poke shells. Well, they're a really beautiful source of lime. The hard part is getting the polluted dirt to feed them, which requires you to do ethanol, which requires more trees. Anyway, just outside the base, though, you'll see, well, giant line of decor statues. But yeah, you've got this. This is where most of the food magic goes on. So you've got your pepper nuts and you've got your nosh sprouts here. And there's some barbecue going on as well because, well, there's about 4 million calories of barbecue going on. Because, of course, there is. Let's have a quick look at the conveyor overlay. Now, as you can see here, there's a little bit of conveyor overlaying stuff going on, but don't panic. Actually, you know what? Yeah, do panic. I have. I tried to go through this and figure out all the pieces, but I'm just going to give you the bare bones step down version. Pretty much everything gets dumped into these. No matter what it is, it all gets dumped into here. This sorts it. this sorts out where everything goes. So this is sort of like a little sorting box right here. Everything that needs sorting gets sorted. The only thing to really worry about is that down here is where the food ends up, and then it gets sent down here across the rail and sent over, or is it? Yeah, it gets sent across this rail and up for storage. And here we're looking at 2 million calories of spicy tofu, 4 million calories of barbecue, and about 4 tons of bleach stone, because to make sure this whole room is fully chlorinated. Smart plan. But yeah, that is a nice compressed food production facility. Look at that. There's even some ethanol cooling going on here to make sure everything stays at the right temperature. It's kind of impressive because this is all 20-degree stuff, and this is all, or is it? Let me get the temperature overlay. Yes, hot, cold. Yes, much simpler to say. So -10, and that's 50 degrees, and they're all right close by to each other, and all close to the kitchens. Anyway, next up, we have got the industrial brick, because this whole base sort of just flows naturally from left all the way to the right. Oh, and there's a saltwater geyser just tucked in up there with a liquid pump to make sure it takes up the least amount of space possible. Sort of a Rodriguez design with a couple of extra tiles of space put in. And that provides most of the oxygen for the base, so the cooling for it is provided by these aquatuners down here. Where is it? Yeah, so one of these aquatuners cools down this area, and then the oxygen actually flows through the steam turbine area, because this whole area has been reduced to a nice chilly box. Perfect. And that just runs in here and provides oxygen to the base and to all the Atmos suits. Just one and done. That's how you like it done that way. Oh, yes, industrial brick. That was what I was trying to get into. So this is sort of a sideways industrial brick. Describe it. You've got your metal refineries here that go one above the other. If we check the piping, yeah, this took me a while to trace, but the way it works is all the outputs of these, all of those 4 green outputs, they all filter right into this liquid tank, and then they get siphoned across here like that. So it gets, it drops off its temperature into that room. And once it's dropped off its temperature into that room, the steam turbines up here eat the temperature, and then the petroleum gets spit out back across here. So this is the split here. This split actually sends all the petroleum back to all 4 of the refineries. Just a nice little right angle design to what I'd normally do. Over here, yeah, this is where all the petroleum generators are, because there's a decent amount of petroleum on this map, believe it or not. The petroleum generators also have their own aquatuner, and it's all running on ethanol cooling loops as well. And down here we've got the ethanol production facility. So that's all stored in these storage tanks over here, and there's some, it feeds off everywhere. There's so many cooling loops going on around here. Let's have a quick zoom out. Yeah, there is cooling loops everywhere, and lots of production and flowing. Ooh. We'll have a quick look at the oil biome before we go any further. Where was it? Yeah, oil biome has been left mostly intact in many ways. You'll see here if I zoom out, there's been some excavation gone on, but by and large, most of it's been left fairly contained, because there's 4 oil wells right here. And all 4 of those oil wells are all pumping up to feed the petroleum boiler. It all goes across here. Fortunately, the nearest volcano was quite a distance, so we got to go up, 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 all the way past. And this is where the industrial brick is on the right and the farming area is on the left. Goes straight up here, hangs a right, and goes into the petroleum boiler. Let's have a look at that for, 2 volcanoes feeding into the petroleum boiler, because, it's nice to have lots of spare magma. That goes into the petroleum boiler here, and then you do want a decent-sized tank of petroleum to work with, because a decent-sized tank is useful, right? Of course, you got to go all the way to... That is... Look at the size of that petroleum tank. That is absolutely ridiculous. If I would be so paranoid that would break. I would just be ridiculously paranoid. I would have triple layered that at this point, just to be safe. Yeah, but that is hugely compact. And if you'll notice, there's been some excavation that's gone on and has strip mined everything until there is nothing left. The whole map has just been demolished. Down here has been left reasonably intact, but, come on, it's only cycle 1100 and most of the map is gone. That is hella impressive. Oh, let's have a quick look at the water. That is a nice big clean water tank. I haven't bothered to figure out where half of it's coming from. 1 second. This one was actually a little bit interesting. There's a cool steam turbine, a cool steam vent down here, which is being cooled down. Not being cooled down. This one is being cooled down by a quick steam turbine heat deletion device. Where was the next one we were going to look at? Oh, yes. There's a water geyser up here somewhere that just feeds into it directly. But the main thing that's awesome is this over here. What's feeding into this is we have a saltwater geyser over here, and we have a second saltwater geyser over here. And both of those saltwater geysers are piped into this area, and then they're piped out via steam turbine. By that I mean this minor volcano all the magma it's been spitting out has been dumping its heat in here, and that heat is being transferred through here up into this room. That heat is boiling all the water. So all the salt water that ends up in here ends up getting flashed to steam, and then it's, kicked out via the steam turbines. And some people will say, well, why don't you just use a desalinator? Well, you could use a desalinator, but, where's the fun in that? You've got a volcano. Why not boil this stuff? I just realized you got around to doing this before I did. I think I did one of these in the last playthrough, just sort of by accident, just because I had so much heat lying around. Good job, Bob. Bob got there before me, and he used heat to desalinate instead of buttering with a desalinator. Nice plan. That all pipes down through here into the this clean water tank, which is about 94 degrees. Though it's kept in a vacuum and sealed in insulated tiles to make sure it won't affect anything. So that's the petroleum boiler, the petroleum source, and most of the core base down here. All this has been cored out, but then we get up to the rocketry section. Nope, just a quick look over here. Whole map's been cored out. Solar power has been installed because solar power is really handy and really good for generating lots of energy. Oh, and battery boxes built into some of these here. You'll notice this one here, there's an actual battery box built in all the way along the sides. Let's have a quick look at where's the cooling for this gone? Ooh, there is no cooling. 1 second. I was advised this map was not finished. They were moving on because of some sort of patch or update that they wanted to experience. So, yeah, it turns out the reason there's no cooling in here is this was filled up with hydrogen. And you see there it's minus 68 degrees or minus 70 in places, minus 90. Damn, look at the temperature in here. That is icy, icy cold. And the reason for that icy coldness is all the liquid is coming from over here. It's pumping in hydrogen from liquid hydrogen. So the liquid hydrogen pours in and has cooled the room down. That's why it's so chilly over there. Yeah, that's the regolith collection area or regolith removal area combined with light for the solar panels. And then we've got your rocketry section over here. Now, Bob was much smarter than me. They limited the duplicants to only being able to access an area this size. That's a smart, sane thing that doesn't destroy your FPS. I really should have done something like that. Mine was way too large. And then you've got your Rodriguez electrolyzer feeding into liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen production with rotational functionality built in, so they rotate out and back. So I think some of the rockets are coming back from their trips. This is still fairly early on. Let's have a look at the star map. Yeah, rockets to everywhere because, yeah, that's pretty much how the replenishment rate works now. You got to go everywhere to get all your resources. So now time to see how the grids hold up. Let's see. We'll get a good zoom out there. So first up, we'll go with oxygen just to check. Yeah, the whole map's oxygenated because of course it is. Power overlay. Let's have a look at the power grids. Yeah, no, I'm okay with that. It's a little bit too neat up the top. Makes me feel a little bit bad, but the rest of the base down here, it's like, no, that looks like something I'd make. Maybe a little bit neater, but yeah, no, I'm okay with that. Good job. Temperature-wise, oh, yeah, that's some hot petroleum on the right-hand side. Yeah, that actually looks almost a bit like a rainbow there. Anyway, ceramics. Let's see where we're going on with minerals. Oh my God, there's so much. There's so much fossil. You left all the fossil behind. Bob, you can't be doing that. You can't be doing that. Fossil's important. You can turn that into lime, turn it into steel. So I suppose you have a lot of bookshelves going on. Liquid piping. Yeah, there we go. I love all the green. That green does add a certain amount of color to every single map you can look at. Wow, that is an awful lot of ethanol cooling loops. You were very fond of the ethanol on this map. Yeah, but no, I'm okay with that. Still ridiculously neat, though. Mine seem more like spaghetti in comparison to that. That seems almost like you planned and organized that. Boo, no planning and organizing stuff that well. That just makes the rest of us all feel bad. Oh, okay, that's too nice. Don't know if it's minimal. You've done a minimalist method there. Big thanks to Bob Terminator for that map, and a big thanks to Mingyu for their map as well. I'm going to have to cut this out here because I took way too long trying to decipher some of these maps, and it takes me a while to figure out where everything is and what's going on. I know it seems obvious to the people who've made them, but it does take a bit of time to decipher how people have designed their bases. So I'll be starting the new Let's Play on Monday. It looks like Rhyme has won. Well, it's still about 4 percentage points ahead of Badlands, so I'm pretty sure Rhyme is going to take it. Plus, I got to get it started on the weekend, so I have a few episodes lined up. But yeah, that's on Monday. For the time being, I hope you enjoyed these maps much as I did, and good luck.